so they called me a hero. Didn't think that could ever happen to me. It all started last week. I was called by the Inspector Sergeant to go on this case about an egg. But this wasn't just any ordinary egg. It was a very ordinary egg. So as I always said, I'd do it, not knowing of the dangers of which were yet to come. How could one man rise so high, but fall so far? My name is John Gillies, and this is my story. The year was 1967. It was the 28th of August when it all began. I got the call from the detective sergeant. He told me about the case, told me some loony was on a massive rampage, stealing eggs. I thought, what a waste of time. But of course I had to say yes. He was the detective sergeant giving me a case. I hadn't had one for months, so it was kind of a breakthrough for me. Anyway, I did what he asked, and I started out. I thought I might stop by the aquarium first, see if there's anyone there, ask them about it, then I'd move on. At the aquarium there was this old man. I asked him if he knew anything about the egg. He told me he didn't. I could tell from his facial expressions that he wasn't lying, so I thought I may as well move on, so I headed to the park to see if there was anyone there. At the park there was this young boy. I asked him if he knew anything about the egg. He told me that the egg was at the park, but there was only me and him at the park, and I didn't have the egg. I thought he might have the egg, but I decided to move on and head to the bank. There was an old woman at the bank. She told me that the egg was at the bridge, so I headed straight there. No time to lose in a case like this. I got to the bridge and I saw the cook. I asked him if he knew anything about the egg. He told me nothing. He told me he didn't know anything about it. So I decided to ask him about the old woman. He said that she was at the beach, but I knew for a fact that she was at the bank. I had my suspicions. I thought he had the egg and he was just lying about it to try and keep the egg. But in the end I decided to carry on, and I headed to the desert. At the desert I met a guy who was wearing a blue hat, and I asked him about the egg. He told me that the egg was back at the park, and I thought, but at the park, that's where the kid is, so I asked him about it. He told me something about a plant, but I knew the plant was the old man. He told me something about a mechanic and the plant again. I didn't understand what was going on. I asked him about the old man. He said something about the bomb, but the kid had the bomb. Then he told me about his brother who was wearing a red hat. I decided to go to his brother who was at the art gallery. The brother seemed to not know anything about the egg as well, so I decided to move on. At this point all of the leads seemed to head nowhere. I decided to persevere, so I headed into the city to see if I could see anyone there. I met some guy in the city. He told me he didn't know anything about the egg, so I decided to ask him about all the other suspects I have encountered so far. I asked him about locations and items of what these people might be holding or where they might be, and he told me all of it truthfully. I could tell he was telling the truth because I had the evidence to back him up. After that I decided to go to the beach. I ran into a mechanic at the beach, so I asked him about the egg. He didn't seem to know anything though. I ran into Miss Mary at the Icelands. She had a suspicious looking bag with her, so I decided to ask her if she knew where the egg was. She told me to head back to the bridge. Just to test her loyalty, I decided to ask her if she knew anything about the cook. What she told me checked out. I decided to carry on. After speaking with Miss Mary, I decided to head back to the park to talk to that little boy again. He was still telling me that the egg was in the park. At this point, I was taking any lead, and I went with my gut feeling. It turns out the kid was lying, and he didn't have the egg. Rule number 1 though, never lie to a detective with a gun and an egg on his mind. I returned to the cook and questioned him further on the egg. Then I decided to ask him about Miss Mary. The answer he gave me was unreliable, and at this point I knew he was lying. Also at this point, I knew that he was the last suspect who could possibly have the egg, unless all other suspects were lying about it. So that's how it happened. That's how a man became a hero. But at what cost? What further cost was there to lie in John Gillies' future? Stay tuned for more Where's an Egg to find out how far a man can fall.